Hi, Dr. Ruth Anderson here. I'm with Enlightened World Network. I am here with Deb Goldberg, and we are so pleased to provide for you a session of divine relationship recovery. So, before Deb gets started talking, I wanted to share a little bit with you about the things that are coming in World Network. We have a meditation today. Now, you can Facebook Network, and you can being provided by one of those or meditators. And they're usually about 25-30 minutes or so, but it's a beautiful time to just relax and get grounded to start your day. Also, this Sunday, we have a silent meditation. It's going to be on book at Enlightened World Network at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be followed with a session that we call Come to the Temple, which Deb Goldberg is going to be leading us in. That's at 11 o'clock Eastern. Now, Come to the Temple is a beautiful time where Deb sends us on a journey of prayer and meditation, and she takes prayer requests during that time. It's just a really lovely way to be supported in connection with the divinity. And it's a nice way to get the support of other folks that are also connecting. And so for the silent meditation as well as Come to the Temple right after that. We are excited to be formatting ideas on EW Littles, which is Enlightened World and our children's programming. We've got some options about some things we're thinking about with meditations and puppet shows and bedtime stories. So be watching for EW Littles, and we're going to be working with Heidi Little on that. And really looking forward to introducing meditation and spiritual concepts to our little ones that are in our community. And lastly, April 4th, we'll be doing a come to dinner. And we know that some folks are feeling really quite isolated because of the social distancing that we're required to do. And so here on Enlightened World Network on Facebook, we're going to have a time of coming together. You can bring your dinner if you want, or not, but just show up. Last time we did this, we had folks from all over the globe on with us in the Zoom room so we could see them and have conversation about what's going on in their community and how they're working with it. We did spend some time in prayer and some time in meditation. So we hope you'll join us for that. April 4th, come to dinner. It is 6 o'clock Eastern Time on Facebook at Enlightened World Network. So with that, Deb, thank you for another session of Divine Relationship Recovery.
You are very welcome. It's always a pleasure to be here and talking about things that are my passion, that are close to my heart, that have been shared with me by Jesus and God and angels. So it feels really good to be here, helping people in their own spiritual journey. I'm sure that a lot of us go through exactly the same type of things. So I'm starting off with saying tonight we came here forgetting that we are already whole and one with everything. Our greatest accomplishment on earth is remembering this and then embodying it. Tonight's show, I'm going to give you the call-in phone number. It is 1-669-900-6833. Again, it's 1-669-900-6833. And you have to use the web ID number 688-583-818. It's already listed in the top of this video in Facebook, so you should be able to see it there as well. So our show tonight is about accepting your divine wholeness and oneness. And it's learning how to do this by accepting all the complexities of who we are with human emotion, personality, aspects, and behaviors. Nothing ever changes your wholeness, even though you might not be happy with aspects of yourself. And there are so many aspects that come along with us for this human experience. It is learning not to judge them, right or wrong, good or bad, but learning to have peace with all of the diversity. So let's take a moment to just kind of ground down into our heart space and just take a breath or two. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. You can put your hand on your heart. That helps bring you more focused. And let's think about right now expanding our heart and our mind as we take in some information that is a little different than what you normally hear for some people. And for other people, it's common knowledge. But we really want to connect with our inner being because this is where the wholeness is. It's connecting within yourself, in your heart. So I wanted to talk about tonight that our wholeness is a given. It is a given from just your divine nature, that it comes along with you, that there's nothing outside of you that brings you wholeness. Yet lots of us, which I have done in the past too, is try to look for things outside of ourselves to make us feel whole. And that could be, a job or doing things a certain way, having a lot of friends, getting married, having children. It's all the things that we do to try to feel like we're important and that we're whole, or that we want to be one with another person when we already are. But we have to learn how to connect with ourself first and understand that this wholeness is always there. In fact, Ruth and I were just talking about the virus. This does not take away anybody's wholeness or oneness. It is, your spirit can never be hurt. Your spirit is alive and has well-being. It is love and joy and peace. So it's almost like feeling you can have two levels of you going on at the same time. So it's really connecting to that peace inside of you and that wholeness that comes from what I call God. It's divine love. It is consciousness. And so you can still be connected to that with whatever is going on outside in your world, whatever you're dealing with. It does not, if you were to get ill or something were to happen, it does not change who you are. Nothing changes the magnificence of who you are, that you're the essence of God. You are light, you are love, you are peace. So grounding into that space during especially a time like now is very important. And to just add on to that, so I don't spend a lot of time on this because it's important to talk about the other things that could be helpful to you. I look at all of this as, and I've been told this, Jesus told me he's got this. God's got this. This is done. Even though you're seeing the remnants of it still moving in whatever direction it's moving, it is done. It is we need to believe in rapid healing and rapid recovery and in well-being, because that is the nature of who you are. So instead of sitting in projection of what if, let's all stand together and saying, it's done. Whether it appears done or not, it is done.
You know, Deb, you talk about folks looking outside of themselves to feel whole. And I think we are seeing so much of that right now, because I think folks are so desperately wanting to feel whole because it helps them feel more grounded and more complete so they can handle whatever. And I think that some of the excess buying of stuff is it's bringing those comfort things into my home, whether, you know, for some folks it's the junk food or the carbs or, you know, the guns or the whatever, but I think it's to feel more whole. And what I hear you saying is you're already whole, so stop looking for things in the grocery store to make you feel complete. Or, you know, my young daughter, stop looking to makeup or a boyfriend or girlfriend to help you feel complete, because you are complete.
Most definitely. It is, but you know, this is a process, and then trying to do it in the midst of a crisis, okay? Because for a lot of people, this is a crisis. And so trying to do it, find your wholeness now, it's a perfect place to start, but it is a process. It does not happen overnight at all. So when you're given an opportunity to be with yourself some more, like some of the distractions have been removed, it's a perfect time to go inside. Now, what I had also wrote down for tonight is something that John the Baptist gave me. And he was talking about meditation and journal time. And I think that it's really important to really sink into what he's saying, because we all now are at home and have an option of having some more time where we're not running around everywhere. So this is John the Baptist, and he didn't give this to me today. It was a few years ago, but it matters every single day. Your meditation and journal time is sacred and holy. It is the way you worship the love and light. It nourishes you. It is a time to learn and integrate. There is nothing more loving you can do for yourself than to give yourself this time. It expands and connects you with the love, life force that flows within you and everything else. It is time for purification and centering. See it as worship. The same way others would go to a church or temple to hear the word of God, although that word flows through you. God's word is full of knowledge, light, and love for your specific journey. It keeps pulling you into remembering who you truly are. So a daily practice is essential. Within you is the holy temple that is filled with love, the spiritual energy of the universe wanting to guide you. Your meditations are a daily reassurance that you are on the right path of love and growth that brings you one step closer to wholeness. There is no replacement for your daily meditation. This is your sanctuary. It is a space of divine love. We are writing this I'm writing this to let others know that they need to do the same. Daily meditation provides important internal guidance. It helps us let go of our habit of looking outside of ourselves for guidance. No one else knows your curriculum or itinerary for your spiritual journey, but you and your spiritual guides. Others can give you pieces of the puzzle, but not the itinerary or curriculum. And this is how we get to understanding wholeness. So
That was beautiful. So that was from John the Baptist.
that is from John the Baptist. And, he was explaining to me about myself what it is. But I know all the messages that I get are not just for me, they're for everybody. So taking time, and I even started like 5 minutes. I gave myself 5 minutes a day when I first started doing it. And of course, now I meditate and journal for about 45 minutes to an hour a day. It's important for me to do that. It grounds me for my day, and it helps me understand what I need to hear for the day. Which, of course, every single day, it is our job to be happy. I hear that the last 5.5 years. That is it's a common thread I've heard every single day is I just want you to be happy. And it's so funny because sometimes it seems like happy is really hard to find, especially when you're going through difficult times. But it's always there because it is your divine nature.
I think that's so profound to think that our divinity wants us to be happy and cares so much about our happiness.
Mm-hmm. It's not asking you to do this, that, or the next thing, or you have to be a certain way. All you hear is just be happy. That your happiness connects you to your consciousness, and it connects you actually in a way to faith that everything's okay because you're divinely cared for. And that's what this all comes down to, is believing that you're divinely cared for because you are divine nature. But this is a learning process that you go through by spending time and deepening your relationship with whatever you call God, divine love, the universe. In fact, I've been told that I'm not supposed to use the word universe very much because it does not elicit sacredness. It does not elicit holy love. It does not elicit from you the essence of what God really is, or divine consciousness. So, but I know some people use that term, and it's okay because God answers to all names. So we have 3 levels, excuse me, we have 3 levels to understand the concept of wholeness. And last week I talked about oneness with God, my experience into oneness with God. And it was really hard for me to verbalize and articulate that because it's so deep, it's so expansive, it's got so much involved in it on a day-to-day basis of spending time with God, with Jesus, with John the Baptist, with the angels, being taught constantly. And so it is it is every single day, it deepens and deepens and deepens. And it is by spending time in that space that you start to learn about your wholeness and your oneness. So we talked about nothing outside of us creates that wholeness for us. And yet we're trying to do a lot of things and to help us grasp that concept. It's not an easy concept to grasp. Understanding all of the diversity that we have inside of ourselves. We have all different types of character traits that we would call personality aspects. We've developed adaptations to ourselves to make up for things within us that we thought were not good enough, or that people didn't like about us. And so we created, like, you have multiple personalities if you want to look at it that way. I'm this way with this person, I'm that way with that person. And so we have, and we've created all different behaviors and mannerisms and ways of being as we have grown through life to try to adapt to all the experiences that we've had. And so we know we're divine. That's all that we truly are. And then there's this ego consciousness that, you could call it the veil of unconsciousness, soul print energy. It's ego consciousness that is always there hovering over that actually, though, creates this illusion for us to have life. So it's purposeful. So the process of accepting that with all of that diversity, we are divine perfection. Because we were given those things for this experience. We were given all these character traits. We were given all these different aspects through the ego to develop a persona. Because spirit doesn't really have a persona. Spirit is just love. It's just being. So we're supposed to have a really full life experience, and it's supposed to be fun. But all of the diversity, our thoughts, our emotions, our physical body, we all have personal stories about ourselves, of what's happened in our life, how we got here, gifts, talents, and it's all a beautiful mix of divine love energy, and that we're perfect as all of that. So basically, we're not here to transcend our humanity. We're here to accept our divinity. And it becomes a difficult task. And it really depends, too, on how much experience somebody's had in their life, or whether they've had trauma or whatever else. It creates a little bit more difficult path to undo. And that's what actually going in and spending time spiritually in your meditation and connecting is undoing all of the faulty beliefs that we have about ourselves that tell us that we're not perfect. So this is a whole life's journey. So the second level, acceptance and belief, forgiveness, allowing, are all powerful spiritual lessons, and it takes time and self-discipline to get to that place. So before I start going in there a little bit, Ruth, is there anything you wanted to say about the first level?
About being here to accept our divinity and acceptance and belief. I can see that for some people that is a lifelong thing, just to get to step one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the 5.5 years that I have been woken up and spent so much intensive time with being guided and being spiritually reparented and undoing and healing. And it is not a practice that I could say every day that I feel my wholeness, because there's still this thought process going on telling me that I'm not. So it takes a lot of self-discipline to not listen to that and keep staying in your knowingness. But the knowingness also you have to believe it. And so our whole journey here is, Jesus just keeps telling me, it's really easy, just believe. And I'm like, why is it so hard to believe? But you're constantly getting knocked out of that zone. And which is part of the incarnation. It's just part of the way our experience goes. And we just have to get better at being self-disciplined, not to listen to that voice, and believing. It is the practice of our journey. So I don't want to make it sound like it's easy peasy and you just get it, but it is about understanding from the first place that it is your divine nature that makes you whole and one, and not anything else that you are doing. Nothing that you are doing is going to bring you wholeness. It's already there. So these spiritual lessons are your whole life, and more just keep coming as you graduate and you meet lessons. More and more come. So in the second level, it is understanding your oneness with your creator. So for this to happen, one needs to, and we've been talking about engaging in an intimate relationship with God. And once you open that door and let love in and actually want to be in this relationship like it's your best friend, like you couldn't even imagine not being in relationship and going to that source every single day to cultivate this relationship. It's always there. It's you. So once you begin to have the awareness, it helps you to start accepting yourself and being engaged in this relationship as one, as a whole. And the relationship with God and self is happening simultaneously because you find that you're one. I mean, God says to me, hey, it's just you and I. It's just you and I. There's nothing else here but you and I, and we are one. Which is a whole nother concept to really, from an earth level is really going, okay, so I'm here by myself, but he tells me to look at every other face as his face, as God. And for me, that's a male essence, even though I know it's just energy. And so it helped me too to understand that every person outside of me is a projection out of my consciousness and is a part of me. So I found it helpful to look at everybody as me. But the truth is, it's just you and God, and you're one. So this is happening simultaneously, is as you having a relationship with God, you're learning about who you truly are, who you are as a self, and understanding that oneness, that there's no separation.
So, Deb, one of the things that's coming to mind is the importance of prayerful meditation and being open to not just sharing your laundry list of what you are wanting God, your creator, to do for you, but to be listening in turn. And really how much more important it is to be listening than talking, because that's how you learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's really important. I mean, for me, it was learning, oh, I can have a conversation. It wasn't just listening. I could ask my questions, but listening is very important. And being quiet to listen is really important. Now, it's funny because as you start to do these things, and I know when people meditate, a lot of them say, and I had this too, there's so much noise, I get distracted, and the same thing happens to me, but I keep staying there knowing that there's a deeper thing going on at the time. Even though there's noise going on, there's something, I'm much deeper, and I know that there's something happening, and I'm hearing, and I'm feeling. And I'll give you an example. When I started to, Jesus wanted to dictate books to me. It was probably about 4 years ago. And so that was maybe a year and a half after I woke up. And it took a lot of energy for me to sit and for about 2 hours a day to sit and listen to him dictate and me write down what he says. There was a part of me that was in so much resistance that it just wanted to go swimming. And so when I moved to Florida, I wanted to be around friends. I wanted to go swimming. It was like this little kid that says, I don't have time for this. I want to go play. And I don't want to sit with myself. And I'll have to tell you how difficult it was to get me. And then the other part of me was like, oh my God, bring this on. I love this. It's such a gift, right? And so it was like these two parts of me pulling me in two different directions. And the energetic resistance was palpable. It was difficult. So when you start going inside, you start really understanding the energy that is inside of you and how these little parts of you are still pulling on you and acting out your life, like your 5-year-old self, your 10-year-old self, your 15-year-old self, whatever. They're always active, and part of the understanding is the highest part, that you are the higher self. There is no other higher self. You are the higher self. And it is allowing this part to mother or father, depending upon whether you're male or female, these parts of you with love. So there's such a progression of what needs to happen, and everybody's journey is going to be different because everybody's had a different story and experience. So there's only one you and your consciousness, and it's God, or whatever you want to call it, divine love. It is consciousness. And you're seeing it. Everything outside of you is your consciousness. And that's something that comes to your awareness as you slowly integrate the first two levels of understanding wholeness. You are creation. You are creation. You are consciousness. Everything's, like I said, you're seeing a mix of the love and fear you feel within outside of you. But, you're co-creating. God has created this illusion for you as this fun experience. The illusion is created for us. And what we're doing as co-creators are how we experience, how are we feeling when we're experiencing something, how we're reacting to something, how we're behaving. This is the co-creation. This is our free will. This is, there's only one will, it's God's will. And it's aligning with that. So instead of like God saying, okay, I want you to do this, or we get a creative idea and we start putting that into motion, that is being in alignment with God's will. The part of me that was running away and didn't want to sit with Jesus and write, that wanted to go play, was really not being in alignment. It was that part of me that needed attention and love and felt uncomfortable just sitting quiet in my own space with myself. So you're seeing everything outside of you as a reflection of your consciousness. So all your fears are there. So you could look at the virus as that. The virus is the fear. How many people believe in illness and disease when we know that all there is well-being? But it's there. It's historical. It is something that all of us, most of us, believe in, that things can happen. So it is part of our consciousness that we're trying to stop believing in fears and overcome them. So you're always becoming aware of all of these things as you awaken. It takes time to embody it. It's your life journey to return home. And when you are in meditation, you are returning home. Returning home in your mind to your awareness. You're turning your awareness into your divine nature, into who you are, and into God's source. So, and learning that there's only love, peace, and joy there. That's all that's there. It's so beautiful. Unconditional love is like nothing else you can experience. I could even say as a mother-child, you have that unconditional love. It doesn't feel the same. It's so much more powerful. You've experienced that, right, Ruth?
I have. And you're right. The mother-child relationship, it's always got these filters on it. It's never the pure divine unconditional love that we can experience through meditation. You're right.
So when we turn in and when we are meditating, when we're praying and we're really connecting with our heart, you've returned home. And basically we've never left home because we're taught that this is an illusion, that you're having a dream. But, dream feels real. And we're all here to explore, experience, that we've been given divine gifts that need to come into play, that the story's been written for us, that you have a much easier time going about your life being connected within and understanding yourself than going through your life without being connected to the source that created you, which it's like you're created. It's really, I don't even know how to say that in a way that doesn't get people confused, because it gets me confused, is that you are just consciousness creating, but there is source that's created all of it. So the third level is actually embracing the one cosmic consciousness, which is God consciousness. The oneness of you. So tell me what you're thinking, Ruth, because I know this is really deeper understanding of saying that the only thing that exists is you and God, your consciousness. And the whole cosmos, as we see it, lives inside of us. All of nature, Mother Earth, the things that we see is,
right.
is all within us. I don't know, get a little broken up
Right.
there.
And stretching, yep. Our Wi-Fi is cutting out a little bit, but you are always stretching me on this point, Deb. So I appreciate what you're saying. In meditation, there is nothing else that exists except for me and God. So I do know the concept of what you are talking about.
So when you get to that place in your meditation practice, or even during the day, you don't have to be in meditation, because you're connected all the time. You cannot be out of that consciousness. It is you. So we're integrating the some parts of ourself that we're calling human traits, our shadows, divinity, and aspects that we are to create oneness within self as perfection. We are perfect. Nothing, no aspect takes away our wholeness, no character trait, no beating yourself up, no ego consciousness, no fear, no attachments to things, none of the victim consciousness, nothing that goes into that thought process that came along with our ability to experience being human. Nothing takes away your wholeness or your oneness. And until we get to a place, which has been a huge lesson for me, of accepting this and being in harmony with the diversity within yourself and not fighting it, not getting into conflict with it, is the task that we need to do, is being in harmony and accepting and allowing all of this diversity that's there, and still staying in our knowingness and who we are. Because if we don't, if we're not in harmony with the diversity of ourselves, well, that's why we're not in harmony with the diversity outside of ourselves, because you're seeing a mirror reflection of your consciousness. But it creates so much energetic resistance inside of us when we cannot be in harmony in our own self. And so we do this by stop projecting what we should look like or act like if we're divine. Like, you have this idea of what do you look like if you're divine, when and rather than it being just who you are. So I guess what I'm gonna sign off saying, look in the mirror, and what you see is divine love expressing itself as you. And that is all who your sisters and brothers are as well. You are God. They are God. Consciousness, love, light, peace, joy. No, so
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think for some of our friends who look in the mirror and can't stand what they see, can you talk about that for just a minute?
Yeah. I was one of those people. I was always judging myself. It is a terrible, terrible thing to look in the mirror and hate what you see. I went through a process of meeting those parts of myself with God and Jesus. I just couldn't do that by myself, and I wouldn't do it by myself. Of meeting those parts of myself that actually hated each other. And this is what I mean about having this relationship to be unconditionally loved and held and spiritually reparented, to understand where those thoughts came from, that you would look at yourself in such a way and have such self-hatred. It is part of what we need to heal. Most of us have self-hatred. Most of us have guilt, shame, and all of those things need to be cleared. But unless you have divine love teaching you that, it's really hard for me to go up to, it was hard for me to tell myself, well, this isn't true. And it's hard for me to tell somebody else, well, that's not true. Are you going to believe me? Or are you going to believe God or Jesus or the angels or some divine entity, being that you connect with, that is going to tell you that and love you and nurture you into that. There is, the self-hatred comes from ego consciousness, and it has absolutely nothing to do with you. There is not one person who is broken. There is not one person that is anything less than love, no matter what you tell yourself. It just can't be. It's a story that you're telling yourself, and that story needs to be shifted. And it's really hard to shift that if you don't have a relationship with love. So falling in love with yourself, as you fall in love with God, you're falling in love with yourself. And then it's a mutual relationship of love and admiration for each other, because it's only oneness. And that comes from spending time together. And it doesn't mean that you don't get hijacked sometimes, again, from your ego thoughts. It's just something that Um, it's a learning curve that nothing else exists except for love, and that's all you can be, and that you are beautiful.
It truly is a relationship, and
Mhm,
that takes time.
mhm. Yeah. So, what I want to say is before we say goodbye for now, we are one love, we are protected, we are held in divine order by our Creator. Go out this day in this awareness and allow God's peace, joy, hope to occupy every thought. Lead with your heart and welcome everyone home, for all are loved. Everyone is loved.
That's beautiful, Deb. Thank you so much. And thank you for this recurring weekly program on divine relationship recovery. I don't know many people who have had the experiences that you've had in communication with Christ and with God to be able to turn around and try to teach it to us. So thank you for seeing this as part of why you're here.
You're very welcome. It is my ministry, and I'm so grateful for you giving me this platform to do this. It's such a sacred, loving, safe space, Ruth.
Well, absolutely. So, to our friends who are listening, thank you so much for being here with us. If you think that these programs would be helpful to anybody else, please pass them along and join us next week for Divine Relationship Recovery with Deb Goldberg. And please be watching Enlightened World Network for other programming options that might be serving a place in your heart as well. So, with that, thank you. You take care and God bless.
Awesome.
Sorry, the Wi-Fi was